See, whether it is a policy or a law around water, it should be based on certain fundamental principles. So we don't start with the operationality of a particular system, but we start by listing out a set of principles and then following it up with policies and laws. Especially because water is like no other resource. I mean, in fact, sometimes I even feel bad to to say water is a resource, right? Because as soon as you say it's a resource, then it gets commoditized. But water is like any other. It is so close to life, and so and it's just not about human life. It's about ecology. We send out satellites, we send out probes around space to see if there is any possibility of hydrogen equal. I mean, the required amount of hydrogen and oxygen, because that would be the precursor to life, whether it's in Mars or in the moon. Now, that being so, when we come down to worldly affairs, water cannot be denied, right? At the same time, it has to respect intergenerational rights, right? As a matter, water, the amount of water will never deplete, but it can be polluted. It can be made unusable, right? And and if you look at groundwater, for example, and it's being overexploited, and most of India, for example, is getting desertified because there is an overexploitation of groundwater. And then there is agriculture. There is a need for us to research, without being a burden on farmers, of course, research techniques of growing with lesser water, yeah, without, of course, burdening the farmer community in India. And so it's very closely related to various facets of life. Water is closely related to various ecological aspects of the country and of the world. It is necessary for us to list certain principles, fundamental principles, and the best principles that there have been while drafting a policy like this was in fact evolved by Bolivia and not India. And Bolivia has taken a completely different route in drafting its policy related to ecology in that country. And they would want to, for example, start by acknowledging and understanding that water is commons, that it is not a commodity, right? This is extremely important because water companies today are making more profits than other basic mineral companies in the world, including companies which retail gold, for example, right? Which means water companies are making more profits than gold companies that sell gold. And so there is very strong vested interest across the world to commoditize and privatize water. We shouldn't let that happen. And so you start by setting principles and acknowledge that water is commons and no one can live without water, right? And water is an intergenerational right, and it's an issue of social justice because water has always been a source of power and in human history, and hence it has also been a source of discrimination. So people who had control over water exercise that power by denying access to water for the others. It's happening today around the world, right? And that cannot happen. So if we really need to make a comprehensive law around water, it is for the sake of water itself, as well as for the sake of ecology and human beings, right? So the policies that you make and the laws that you make have to be preceded by this comprehensive outlook of water as commons, right? And policies and laws should only follow and ensure that they draft these policies and laws to ensure that the articles in these policies and laws are there to implement the basic fundamental principles that we agree on water.